Hi, I'm Andy, one of the producers at Loop, and today I want to show you how to record and edit MIDI in Logic Pro. So let's get started. So as you can see here, we have a session I've started where we have a little drummer track going. And so I'm going to start messing around with some string ideas here. So make sure that the R is selected, and then you can start recording, messing around with it. And so as I was just messing around with that, I was thinking, that sounded pretty good, but I wasn't recording. Thankfully, we have this handy feature called Capture Record. And so what Capture Record does is when you're playing, it's capturing the MIDI data in the background. So as you can see, we have this new MIDI region here. So I'm going to double click this. We can see my MIDI data here. Now, as you heard, that last note was actually kind of quiet compared to the rest of them. You can play it again, you'll see. So as you can see, the colors here indicates what the velocity is. So we're going to select these last two and bring the velocity up closer to everything else. And what's nice is that Logic gives you this amazing visual feedback, and so you can very quickly see where your velocity is. So I just wanted to get all the velocities close to this. Now if you notice, I played it pretty tight, but it's still at the front here. So I'm going to select all of this and go to Quantize and just select half note. And you can again hit Q. If you want to adjust the strength, you can actually adjust how much you want to quantize it here and then how much swing you want. But we're going to just quantize it straight to the grid. So here we have our first, and I'm going to option drag this over so we have our first MIDI region. Next, we're going to record another string part here. So I'm going to hit this button here. What this button does is a new track with duplicate settings, which immediately adds another track with also the strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to spiccato, but we're not going to do cellos. We're going to have a string ensemble. Change the release a little bit. And so we're going to record and double this part here. So let's turn it down a little bit. So again, we have this here. Now, we don't necessarily want to quantize this as close. We want it to be a little bit looser so it feels a little real. So we have that there. As you can see, I'm going to zoom in. It quantizes it pretty close, but again, let's get a little bit closer. There we go. Now let's say that you're working on a MIDI track and you've copied it over and it's fully quantized, or let's say you've painted this in. And you're like, you know, I really want this to feel looser, feel more real. Or let's say even, for whatever reason, you've painted it in and you literally have all of the same velocity. There's an awesome feature called Humanize. You go to Functions, MIDI Transform, and then Humanize. And here you can choose, this is position here, and this is how much off it is from where it is. This is the velocity. And you can adjust the length. So we're going to just do just a little bit of a change here. Just add a little bit of velocity, a little bit there. Select and operate. As you see, it says 97 events found in one MIDI region. And then close that out. And if we zoom back in, you can see where it's humanized our MIDI. And some of it might have been a little too loose, so 6 may have been too much. But as you can see there, that's an option for how much we want to actually humanize our MIDI. So let's say you don't want to humanize everything. Let's say that you want your strings to sound like really even. So let's put the strength back up. And there's some other great MIDI transform functions. So let's do fixed velocity. Here you can control actually how much velocity you want. So let's say you want some really soft strings. They're really soft there. What's really nice about this fixed velocity function, it works really well in tandem with Humanize. Because let's say you recorded it really hot, you could bring it down by hitting fixed velocity to a manageable level, like what we just did here, and then you go back to Humanize, and you can randomize it within the range. Because again, this randomization here, where it's the actual range, is random of 6 within the range. So if it's all like 120 really hot, you're randomizing up 6 and down 6, like 126 to 114. But here, it randomizes it within the value you set it at. And then you can then kind of control where you want it, again, with a velocity slider here. The MIDI transforms under function. There's a lot of different options. And there's some other great stuff. We have double speed, half speed. So half speed just literally cuts it all in half and makes a region twice as long. If you end up deciding to cut the tempo in half or want to just mess around with that. And so there's some other great things. So let's say you want to build a crescendo into this. There's a crescendo function, but I'm a big fan of doing it by hand. You can then control velocity from these different events here. And so what you can do is just go like this and draw it up on each individual note. And kind of start there. So like this. And so as you can see the colors move from softer to louder. So that's a great way to add some really dynamics to what you're doing. One last thing is how transpose works with MIDI data. So if you see here, when you transpose the region, it actually moves up within the MIDI region. But if you transpose by track, it doesn't. So this works great. Let's say that you're just really comfortable working in a certain key, and you want to just work very quickly, but you're actually having to write in like B flat or E flat that you're not as comfortable in. You can hit transpose here, do your editing in your piano roll, and then it's playing flat. As you can see, changing here doesn't change it here. But let's say that you are wanting to actually transpose everything in the piano roll. You want to do your transpose by the region, so you can actually transpose it on the screen. So that's how you record and edit MIDI. I hope that you learned something, and I can't wait to hear what productions you come up with.